Good evening, my dear friends. Happy Friday to all of you. Extra relief payments are finally on the way for millions of Americans. There are billions of dollars in unused crisis relief funds that is now being put towards new stimulus programs, and up to $1,000 can be claimed right now by eligible Americans. Friends, please make sure you watch until the end of this video to learn how you can receive this extra relief. To say thank you for joining me here every day when I post a video, I'm giving away 4 $75 Walmart gift cards every week. Please enter these giveaways by clicking and then liking several of my videos and commenting below the keyword of each video that you watch. The more videos that you comment on, the greater your chances of winning these giveaways.
Inflation is crushing Iowans and the American people. And it's not just gas prices. The price of groceries and school supplies continue to rise, hurting our families just as children are going back to school. But instead of addressing the rising cost of everyday goods, Democrats in the Biden administration continue to push for more legislation that will make these problems worse. The Inflation Reduction Act, which I like to call the Income Reduction Act, did nothing to help Iowans who are struggling to make ends meet. Instead, several $100 billion will be spent to fund partisan pet projects like doubling the size of the IRS. And less than 2 weeks after the Income Reduction Act was signed into law, President Biden announced his student loan forgiveness plan, which will cost hard-working Iowans and Americans even more. We need to increase domestic energy production to lower energy prices and curb our dependence on other nations, and we need to enact policies that allow Americans to keep more of their hard-earned paychecks. Inflation, unlike what you saw this weekend on 60 Minutes, where it was poo-pooed and downplayed, inflation is an issue every single American is facing right now. And the Biden administration has made it abundantly clear that fixing the problem is not a priority. Thank you, and I will now yield to Representative Tony Gonzalez.
So friends, there are several new stimulus plans. A total of 17 states in our country chose to give their resident payments to help offset economic hurdles caused by inflation, the crisis, or a total of 17 states in the country chose to give their residents payments to help offset economic hurdles from inflation, the crisis, or to cut down their state's budget surplus. Florida, just like the other 17 states, provided some of its residents. Florida, just like the other 17 states, but provided it to just 59,000 families. The different states that gave money to their residents to help cover higher costs and continuing economic difficulties did not all give the same amount. To help soften the blow of still soaring inflation, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announced his administration will be sending one-time $450 stimulus checks to Florida's foster and adoptive families. Letters sent to residents who will be receiving the check stated, this one-time payment can be used for anything from buying diapers to fueling up at the pump. According to Newsweek, like previous stimulus checks, there is no registration required. The state is using $35.5 million to fund the program, which will come from Florida's $1 billion American Rescue Plan Act funds. Laura Walthall, spokesperson for the Florida Department of Children and Families, told reporters, this one-time payment assists families who are being affected by rising inflation and preparing to send their children back to school. The one-time stimulus payment is part of a larger initiative driven by First Lady Casey DeSantis and administered by the Florida Department of Children and Families. While the state of Ohio may not offer much comparatively, some groups and politicians in the state have proposed new inflation relief plans for their residents. Ohio residents are not getting quite the same amount as Californians, who are receiving $1,050 inflation relief checks. But state governor candidate Nan Whaley wants a similar program. Nan Whaley has proposed $350 inflation rebate checks for about 7.4 million individuals in the state. The benefit would apply to anyone earning less than $80,000 a year, or couples with an annual income of less than $160,000. State officials have announced that Ohio residents can apply for an energy assistance program that gives $500 to help with electric bills. However, the program only assists with electric bills. Water and gas are out of luck. It also has specifics on who can qualify. The household applying has to be under 175% of the federal poverty line. Alongside electricity, the state has more than one agency offering rental assistance. Friends, the key word for this video is Cedar Point. If you would like to enter tomorrow's Walmart gift card giveaway, please click and like several of my videos and then comment below this keyword, which is Cedar Point, and additional keywords of any video of mine that you watch. And do make sure, friends, that you are subscribed to my channel. About 2 million New Jersey homeowners and renters will receive property tax rebates in the coming year under a new $2 billion property tax relief program included in the $50.6 billion state budget that was signed on by New York Governor Phil Murphy. A smaller version of the program was included in Murphy's initial budget proposal, unveiled in early March. Democratic state leaders announced an expansion of the new initiative in recent weeks, and it became clear that New Jersey would rake in a record tax revenue windfall of more than $9 billion by the end of June. Under the new program known as Anchor, homeowners making up to $150,000 will receive $1,500 rebates on their property tax bills, and those making up to $250,000 will receive $1,000 rebates. Renters making up to $150,000 will receive $450 checks. Friends, this is really great news because I know right now is a very difficult time for many Americans, especially with the rising cost of living. Rents for single-family homes were 12.6% higher in July compared with the year earlier, but the gains continue to shrink from the record high seen in April. According to CNBC News, most major metropolitan areas are seeing the same cooling, even in the Sun Belt, which saw rents soar the most during the first years of the crisis. Miami continues to see the biggest gain, with rents up nearly 31% from the year before. But that is actually down from 41% growth seen in March. Phoenix, Arizona rents were up 12.2% in July, but down from an 18% gain in March. Rents soared in warmer areas in large part due to remote workers relocating during the crisis. That demand fueled rent increases and hit affordability very hard. With inflation now taking a bigger bite out of consumers' wallets, demand for these high-priced rentals is decreasing. Friends, please let me know if rent has increased in your city or state. Well, my amazing and beautiful friends, that is the end of my daily stimulus update video for this Friday. Thank you, dear friends, for joining me here every single day. And I greatly and truly appreciate all of you for doing so. I'll be announcing a winner tomorrow for the Walmart gift card giveaway. So please do remember to enter the keywords in the comment section below and do stay tuned for that video. Thank you, friends, and have a wonderful and blessed weekend.
Madam President, last week we received what might have been the worst economic news I've ever seen in one day of my lifetime. In Joe Biden's America, it costs more to feed your family. In Joe Biden's America, your commute to work is more expensive. In Joe Biden's America, it's a struggle to pay the bills that power your home. In Joe Biden's America, farmers and ranchers are facing such high input costs that they're struggling to grow the food that feeds our nation and those around the globe. And in Joe Biden's America, just as kids are heading back to school, the price of school supplies has increased by over 9%. This president continues to preside over the worst economy most Kansans have ever seen in their lifetime. And this is all thanks to the Democrats' massive, hyper-partisan tax and spending bills, and of course their business-crushing federal regulations. As you can see on this chart, inflation was just 1% in January 2021, 1.4%. Today, well, it's over a staggering 8%, almost 6 times higher than when Joe Biden took the reins and his woke inflationary policies wrecked our economy. Look, energy, groceries, and shelter account for 2/3 of inflation, and they always lead inflation. Inflation is not going away unless this administration does an about-face on its policies, and we know that's not going to happen. Let's take a look at what Joe Biden's done. Energy. Energy's up 23%. Groceries, up 13%. Shelter, up 6%. Now you might ask why. Why is shelter gone up 6%? Well, look, mortgage rates on 30-year loans have quadrupled under this president. Energy, grocery, shelter, all up across the board. All are essential to every individual's comfort and prosperity. And finally, have you looked at your retirement accounts lately? Down, if you're lucky, maybe some 17% off its peak values. Kansans are hurting, Main Street merchants are hurting, Americans are hurting. But instead of helping, this administration continues to pour gas on the fire with another massive spending bill. And then they had the gall to publicly celebrate last week on the south lawn of the White House. The very day the stock market went into a spiral after the CPI came in showing the highest inflation rate in nearly 40 years. What's more, Sunday night on 60 Minutes, the president said that inflation was up, quote, just an inch, hardly at all. And I end that quote. Are you kidding me? I can't imagine an administration more out of touch, more apathetic to the pain of the people who elected him than this one. An 8.3% increase in inflation over last year is not just an inch. This kind of minimization infuriates everyone. I've heard it at every one of my 100 town hall meetings. Let's not forget, since Joe Biden took his oath, inflation has increased over 13%. Mr. President, when you live paycheck to paycheck, 13% is not just an inch. Americans are much smarter than you think. Inflation is going to be Joe Biden's legacy to the American people.